I played and ranked all 4 Fullmetal Alchemist games on the PS2. 3 are part of a trilogy, and the 4th one is a Smash Brothers clone? Are any of them hidden gems? Or did any of them come up short?
Who are you calling a bean sprout midget?
Let's start with the first game in the trilogy, Fullmetal Alchemist and the Broken Angel. This game is an original story that takes place around episode 17 of the anime. It starts with our Elric brothers and Armstrong on a train to Central, where it gets hijacked. While defending against the hijackers, they learn that they are all going to a city where alchemists are gathering, and they derail the train. Now they need to head to that city, as it's the closest place with a train to Central. But when they get there, they notice it's overrun by chimeras. The story is told in a mix between these anime cutscenes that look really impressive and character stills. Most of the story is done through these stills with a lot of fun and humor, with them always making fun of Ed's height. But there is no voice acting in these scenes. I do like that the game has an original story and is doing something unique with the universe of Fullmetal Alchemist, but the lack of voice acting is a bummer. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. The game is an action RPG. You have the basic controls of an attack, jump, and a guard button. You have a 3-hit combo and then Accu-Strike. If you time your button press with an attack animation, you can do some extra damage on that one attack. It's very precise and not worth playing a rhythm game for a bit more damage. Enemies don't have much depth to them, and you mash your way through most of them. The best way to do this is with alchemy. Let's get to the part we all want to know. How does this game use alchemy? You have 2 alchemy transmutations that are always with you. One is a wall to defend yourself, and the other is a spike attack. Not very useful to use them, as you barely need to defend from projectiles, and the spike is rather cumbersome to use since you need to leave the button press until the meter fills up. It's better to just use the other alchemy. You're able to transmute items on the stage like a briefcase into the spear from the anime. Depending on the item, you can transmute it into 2 different things, and I like that you're given options on what you want to transmute to. However, it does make you hold the button for a certain amount of time to get the second option, which is awkward in the middle of combat. There are 3 categories of items you can transmute to, which are Ed only, Al only, and one for both. The items for Ed or Al only are equipables that you can use, much stronger than just your fist, and with Ed it allows you to combo into the spike attacks. The others are items that have a certain amount of use before they stop working. Some items can be transmuted again into another item or add elements to them. The elemental makes your weapon do more damage and causes status effects, but you need an item for this. It's interesting but limiting since specific items can only get specific elements, so you can't use them in a strategic way. You can also do it for weapons for Al, which you will want to since he is very helpful. He will attack on his own, but you can command him to tackle, or again, hold down the button to have him guard in front of you. Tackle command is great for extra hits, but the guard is clunky. By the time he gets close to you to guard, they will have finished their attack on you. He is also necessary for a special attack. This is a wide area attack and has a limited amount of uses. If Al is down, you can't perform the move, but he is easily revivable, but you don't want him to die, as his life is tied to frenzy mode. You get frenzy mode when you fill up the meter and your health bar decide it's Pride Month. Once you're in this mode, your attacks do more damage and you gain more experience. You can also use it up for a new special move, but it's not worth the trade. It can be lost if you die since it's game over, Al dies, or you saved the game. So the game punishes you for saving it. Why would I give up a stat boost for one big attack on top of that? XP is important as your characters will level up, giving them better stats and bonus points. You gain them every time Al or Ed levels up, and it's a shared pool of points between the both of them. I don't quite understand the point of leveling up Al, as he can be revived whenever, and when Ed dies, it's game over. Other ways to improve the stats is by equipping items. It gives them different effects, and some of them are only equipable to one or the other. While these points and equipments are nice, I rarely went into these screens to update them. Most enemies were defeated by using powerful transmutations, since that was the fastest way, and you don't have to fight them. Most of the time you can open up some chests and just skip the enemies entirely. Since the fighting is repetitive, I mostly ignored enemies unless I could easily defeat them. At most, you want to look around the stage for chests since you get the elemental items for transmutations, equipment, but more importantly, potions to stay alive in the fights. The game is pretty linear as all you see are transmutable items and treasure chests. You do this most of the game and there's not much to look forward to after you beat the game. Once you beat the game, you get a new game plus which resets your stats but lets you keep any item or bonus points from your last game. Bonus points are odd since you want to use them in your first playthrough to increase your stats, but they reset when you do a new game plus. Feels like I just got scammed somehow. You can keep playing as the final fight is hard and you don't need to beat them to beat the game, but if you want to try, New Game Plus does give you the chance to retry the fight. In the end, this game is okay. It's a very basic action RPG with a handful of combos, and having to hold the button for certain actions is just annoying. This was, however, the first game, so let's see if the sequels made things better or worse. Fullmetal Alchemist 2 Curse of the Crystal Elixir has an original storyline, sort of. It follows the Cornelio and other sections of the original story, but they remix it by adding an extra plotline. It includes a new villain and the fake Philosopher's Stone called the Crystal Elixir into the stories. You get both to replay memorable parts of the show and experience a new story. The best of both worlds. Since our boys are looking for the Philosopher's Stone, this is something that gets their attention. Not only did they upgrade the animated cutscenes, but the stills now have voice acting.
That ain't it either, and don't call me a shrimp!
Making it so much better to enjoy the story. So, how did the gameplay change? It got some upgrades compared to the last game. The basic combo is longer than before, and you can mix it up by adding a handblade attack anywhere in your combo. There's even a counter that is helpful if you can time it just right. Much more useful than the accurate hit, which this game still has for some reason. Transmutations have also received changes. You now have 4 different types of alchemy you can transmute to whenever you want. You start off with the wall, which is for defense, but as you progress, you unlock 3 weapons. They replaced the permanent weapons from the first game with a system which is better. You don't have to give up on your permanent weapon for a temporary one, as you can try out all the cool new transmutations. Every item now transmutes into one thing instead of giving you 2 options. They sacrifice choice but streamline combat. You no longer have to hold down the buttons mid-fight. It's an equivalent exchange. To streamline further, they got rid of the elemental items and instead transmuted items can level up, which will receive buffs like the elemental items. Speaking of removal, frenzy mode is gone. The bar is now just for special moves, so you don't have to give it up for stats or to save the game. You will still need Al to do the special moves, as you will need him to alley-oop you to perform it. His health bar is also visible on the bottom, so you don't have to go into the pause menu to check it. As you level up, stats will go up, and it's similar to Broken Andrew, and the same could be said about the bonus points. It's still weird that you both share the same pool of bonus points, since Al can still be revived endlessly. You can also improve stats with equipment just like the previous game. While the maps are still linear, it does look better than the last game. Once you beat the game, it's revealed that this game could be the prequel to its predecessor. It ends with the boys and Armstrong taking the train to Central, which is where the first game starts, and just like the previous one, you have a new game plus, and you can replay it to try and beat the bosses that you don't have to beat to progress the story. In the end, this game is an improvement over the first game. It's improved the alchemy by giving us weapons we can create at any time and adding a bit more depth into the combo system. It's a shame that they took away the 2 options for transmutation, but it was clunky. The biggest change was the voice acting, making the story much easier and better to enjoy. But there's still one more game in the trilogy. This one was never released outside of Japan, and let's see if it deserved to have come to the West. Fullmetal Alchemist 3, The Girl Who Succeeded God, is the last in the trilogy. Like the first game, it has an original story. Valdola City is being attacked by a Velza clan who are trying to resurrect the goddess Velza, who will destroy the world. While defending the city from their attacks, Edward and Al meet a mysterious young girl called Sophie, who holds hidden powers that can help them fight against the Velza clan. It has voice acting and even better animated cutscenes, but the whole game is in Japanese. Everything from menus, dialogue, stories, and even items are in Japanese. I found a fan guide that translated all the text and cutscenes. Thank you Ramix and GameFAQs for your services. However, for the in-game text and items, I used my handy dandy phone with Google Translate. So, how does this game play compared to the previous games? The basic combo attack is the same as the last game, but they expanded on the handblade attacks. Depending on where you decide to add the handblade combo, Ed will do a different move, giving you more depth in the combos. So you're now thinking of your combos depending on the enemy you're fighting. He can even do a Shoryuken! There's even a new lock-on mode that will allow you to use throwable items much easier. However, the biggest change is with Al. You can now play as Al. You can switch to him and do full combos and attacks just like Ed. It basically doubles everything you can do. He has his own 4 transmutation attacks that you will unlock as you progress through the game. This also means that he gets his own special attacks, which is a nod to the first game, which is neat. On that note, they brought back the ability to let you convert an item to either 2 different items like the first game. You go about it by calling your partner over to transmute the item for you. This new system does give a better reason to apply bonus points to Al, as you can control him now. Even though you can't switch over to Al, he still can't permanently die, as Ed can revive him, but if Ed dies, it's game over. Not sure why you want to keep playing as Al for long periods of time, since it becomes an escort mission, protecting Ed the whole time, but there's also specific situations where you need to switch over. For one, Al can tank elemental hits compared to Ed, making him a better option in certain fights, and other times to explore the map. Exploring the map is way more fun and interesting now. You'll be switching between the 2 brothers to get around the map. Sections will be cut off by flame, which you need Al to pass through, while Ed can cross through ledges and get into a hole because of how small he is.
Who you calling small, you bite-sized old hag?
There are even small sections where they vary up the gameplay by splitting the brothers up, a sneaking level, and more where you just go around destroying boxes in a tractor. More treasure chests have been put in this game, and they are scattered in much more interesting areas that pose a challenge, and even put in hidden rooms, so it gives a reason to not skip sections. NPCs have been put in some parts of the game, and talking to them gives you some backstory, and some of them even give you items, which is neat. There's one more mechanic in the game that was cumbersome to use, and that was talking to Sophie. If you speak to her, you can give her items and you get something in return. Usually it's a small stat boost or an item, but I had to keep my phone up to read all the text. I mostly decided to skip it, but if you want to unlock some post-game content, you will need to do this. Just like the last 2 games, after you beat it, you can replay the game and you'll restart at level 1 with all your items. One cool thing they let you do that you can't do in the other 2 is skip all the cutscenes so you can get straight to the action. If you prefer to do something else, this game introduces a new mode called Tag Battle. You get to fight through 5 courses of enemies. One cool thing that they do is they bring back enemies and bosses from the second game into these fights, but not the first game. What is even more surprising is that this game mode lets you play in co-op, so you can do this with a buddy, which makes it even more criminal that the game's story mode doesn't have co-op. If you gave the right items to Sophie in the story mode, you can also play as Roy Mustang and have Armstrong or Hawkeye as your support characters. Roy made most of these courses super easy since he had ranged attacks. In the end, I had a lot of fun playing this game. I'm surprised this game was never released in the West, especially since they localized the first 2 games. It's a shame since they kept the streamlined alchemy from the second game while giving you the options from the first game. Combat and map exploration have both been expanded on and given more depth, and even making Al a controllable character. If you want to play this game but don't want to deal with the language barrier, there is an English patch in development that you should keep a lookout for. The game could take the win, but we have one last game to look at that goes for a completely different genre. Fullmetal Alchemist Dream Carnival departs from the trilogy and is a standalone game. It starts with King Bradley abruptly deciding to host a tournament. The winner of the tournament will get 1 wish granted to them, but you have to enter the tournament in pairs. You play 8 different scenarios with 2 hidden ones you have to unlock. Each scenario lets you play as different pair of characters from the series with 6 fights. The story mode is a lot more lighthearted because of the type of game it is. So, what type of game is it? It's Fullmetal Alchemist Smash Brothers. Not what I was expecting after playing some action RPGs, but hey, I love me some Smash. Let's see how it plays. Every character gets a light attack and a heavy attack. There are combos and a character can have a couple or just one. However, what I was curious about is how alchemy is used in this game, or as the game calls them, special attacks. There are two types of special attacks. One where the character just does a move, and the other is where the environment comes into play. Usually the items lane will have different effects on the character's special move, like Ed will transmute the items to different attacks depending on the item. On the other hand, someone like Hawkeye will convert the items to a shotgun or a bazooka she can shoot. Items are scattered throughout the stage and you could go between the 3 planes to find items you want to transmute to or run away. There are also hazards throughout the stages, so you have to be careful on where you decide to fight. It gets even more chaotic when characters start using their special moves. Every character gets 2 special moves and they get intrusive in the fights. The smaller one just have a flash of the character on screen and goes away rather fast. But the second one makes the character's animation the forefront and the actual fighting a picture in picture. Imagine watching that on those box tube TVs. How are you supposed to play like that? There is a bar for special moves, but it's also hard to see, and next to it you have your lives. The life system makes this game unique since it's a shared pool. So even if you don't die but your partner sucks, you can lose the game. You can give commands to your partner that makes them behave differently, but it does not make much of a difference and hard to tell what mode they're in since the whole game is in Japanese. It's especially bad in the last scenario since you fight King Bradley. He is by himself but he hits like a dump truck. If you ever play a game and they make the final boss unreasonably strong, you have my permission to cheese. Once you finish all the scenarios, you want to move on to arcade mode. It's your typical arcade mode for most fighting games, and you can play it in co-op. Don't quite understand why these games let you play the secondary mode in co-op but not the story mode. One difference between the story mode and the arcade mode is that if you hit an enemy, they might drop an item. You can use these items in another mode that lets you transmute them to unlock extra goodies. However, the main extras you want to unlock are the 2 extra story scenarios and 4 hidden characters. They are Greed, Izumi, King Bradley, and the 2003 anime Raph. You could use them in versus mode where you can do 2-on-2 or free for all with up to 4 other players. It has 13 playable characters with 6 different stages. In the end, Dream Carnival is a chaotic platform fighter that integrates alchemy into its combat. Not the most amazing game in the world, but fun with some friends. I respect the developers for taking a risk with the series that is mainly RPGs and experimenting with a platform fighter. Now that we played all the Fullmetal Alchemist games on PS2, let's rank them from worst to best. In last place we have The Broken Angel. It started it all, but having to leave the button press in the middle of combat to transmute an item, and the combat being repetitive and shallow, makes it take last place. Next we have Dream Carnival. I respect the developers for trying to deviate away from action RPGs with a platform fighter. It even tried to be more unique with its team battle emphasis, but it's low on content with only 6 stages and 13 playable characters. While the chaotic nature of the game is usually a bonus in these type of games, it goes a bit too far, making it hard to enjoy. Between the 2 RPGs, with one that we got in the West and the other one that stayed in Japan, in second place we have Crimson Elixir. It built upon the foundation of Broken Angel and it streamlined alchemy, voice acting, and expanded combat. While the simplified alchemy did make the experience smoother, it did have to do this by taking away options from the player. And of course, first place goes to Girl Who Succeeded God. On top of having better animated cutscenes, combat was upgrading the game by having more combo options, and it even doubled the amount of attacks you had by making Ao a playable character. Maps were improved by making you want to explore with challenging platforms with more treasure and hidden rooms. If you can get past the language barriers by playing with a translation guide, or even waiting until the English patch comes out, this is the Fullmetal Alchemist to play on the PS2. Speaking of old anime games, subscribe as my next video will be on Inuyasha games. If you want me to look at a specific series, let me know in the comments down below. And if you're craving more PS2 anime games, I have a video on all the Bleach PS2 games. But as always, my lovely patients, I thank you so much for watching and tune in next time. Bye.